Hey friends, welcome back. Let's chat about my end of the year TBR while going through the end of the year book tag. Getting right into it, the first question is, are there any books you started this year that you have yet to finish? And my answer, I think, is pretty much the same every year. It's yeah, but no. In my bullet journal, I have these like monthly shelves of all the books that I've read so far this year. And all the books that I marked as DNF, meaning did not finish, I don't actively have a plan to go back to right now. So that's why my answer is yes, but no, because some of them I do plan on going back to in the future, but I don't plan on finishing them before the end of the year. So no. But I think the 3 books that I have DNF'd this year that I do plan on finishing in the future are The End of August by You Mary, Northwoods by Daniel Mason, as well as Bellies by Nicola Deanan. The End of August is just a very chunky historical fiction that I wasn't ready to commit to, though I was really liking the writing. Northwoods, I was predominantly trying to listen to it on audio, and I realized that this is one that I have to sit down and read, and at the time that I was reading this, I just didn't really want to sit down and read it. But I do think that I will enjoy it, so I will come back to it in the future. Same with Bellies. I was listening to this on audio, and I do think that the narrators were taking me out of the story. It also is sort of like a more difficult read, and at the time, my mental space wasn't in a place to really read about the situation going on, but I do really want to finish it in the future. Question number 2 is, do you have an autumnal or seasonal book to transition you to the end of the year? I did recently read one of my answers to this, and it was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. It's a very like whimsical, but still a little dark and mysterious YA fantasy, and it was, I think, a perfect option for this like seasonal read. I loved it. It was a great time. I also think that An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson will be a good option for me. I've been told that it has a dark academic setting, which will lean into the sort of like mysterious and magical tone that I sort of associate with the turn of the season. So I'm looking forward to this one. The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown is another one that I think could be an answer for this question for me. I do read fantasy all year, but particularly in the like fall and winter, it feels the most magical. And I think this book will work particularly because it deals with magical realism, which is a kind of subgenre of fantasy that I really enjoy. Finding little magics in daily life, I think, is much easier to do in the fall and winter season. And the fact that this book takes place in a bookshop and it goes on magical adventures, but it still has dark and mysterious parts to it. The tagline is literally, "This book is worth killing for." So it sounds up my alley. And then I'm going to say The Foxwife by Yang Zixu as well, mostly because there's snow on the cover and it snowed for the first time today, and I'm really excited about that. This one obviously looks like it might be leaning more into the winter season, so kind of moving right along with these recommendations for myself. And some of the taglines in this book just sounds so exciting to me. It says, "The book brilliantly explores a world of mortals, spirits, humans, and beasts and their dazzling intersection. Epic in scope and full of singular, unforgettable characters, The Foxwife is a stunning novel about old loves and second chances, the depths of maternal love, and the ancient folk tales that very well may be true." I am upset that I haven't read this yet. It sounds so good. Question number 3 is there a new release that you are still waiting for? Yes, there is. Private Rights by Julia Armfield is definitely one of my most anticipated releases of the year. And I'm going to be honest with you, I know nothing about it. I just know that I loved Julia Armfield's writing in Our Wives Under the Sea. So this is an auto by author for me now, and I just can't wait to pick it up. I hardly care what it's about. I just want to read it. Question number 4 is, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? And I think that it is a very difficult question because all 3 of these that I already mentioned, I think, are on this list. I also think that I would love to read Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, as well as I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. And 2 other books that I want to mention kind of go into the next question. So the next question is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? And yeah, these 2 books, I think if I actually got to them, could be my favorite book of the year. Literally, who knows? If I actually get around to reading Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, why the hell not? Like, I loved The Way of Kings. I think that my love for this series is just going to continue to grow as I continue them. This is one that I do want to at least try to start before the end of the year happens. There's just something about a really chunky fantasy that just feels so cozy to me, and especially when it's snowing or at least a little bit chilly, the thought of cozying up with a chunky fantasy is just top tier for me. Another one that could be a book that shocks me is The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. I know this book has found family, and I think part of it takes place on a ship, and I didn't know that it was an evocative space opera. That's exciting. I know that Simon Jimenez has one of the most unique writing styles that I've ever read, and with those elements woven in, like I do think that it could shock me and I could really, really love it. So I would say that this would be a contender for sure. Then the 6th and final question is, have you already started making reading plans for the new year? And I would say yes, but less in terms of like scheduled TBRs. Like I don't have specific groups of books for videos already or anything like that, but I do know a couple things that I want to sort of implement in the new year. For October and November, I decided to try to do a seasonal TBR instead of a monthly TBR. And if you are new here and you don't know, I used to, or do, maybe not anymore, but I have a spin the bottle TBR game, which I have done every single month for like ever. And I've been battling back and forth because I know that those videos like perform really well. They're really fun to make and you guys do love them. And I love that you love them. I love them. But at the end of the day, it does sort of restrict what I can read or should read, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, because if I do a monthly TBR, it is more difficult to have the flexibility to read for a random video idea that I might have in the middle of the month. So at the end of this year, I decided to do a seasonal TBR, like just a fall TBR, and spun a couple more times for those 2 months. And it just kind of felt freeing. Like it felt like I had less responsibility and I could mood read a little bit more. I could pick up random books or continue a series and not feel so bad about it. Even though I shouldn't feel bad about it regardless, there is just that pressure that you put on yourself if you make a monthly TBR, especially for a game. Like you want to follow through with what you're promising and, you know, all of these things. But at the end of the day, I do want to be excited about the content I'm making, and sometimes that requires me reading outside of what I have already promised. So I just want a little bit more flexibility. And I think that seasonal TBR games might be what I change into in 2025. At least for the first half of the year, I'd be wanting to see how that works. And that goes directly into another reading plan, is just continuing to allow myself to mood read and finish series, binge series if I want to. And having more of this flexibility will mean that I am able to plan and execute bigger or more video projects, like booking a small getaway house and going away for the weekend with Caleb while reading some particular themed book. Who knows? I would love to do more of those types of videos. And of course, let's not even get too far ahead, because we all know that January is like one of my favorite months of the entire year in terms of content, because I love doing my reading booktubers best books of the previous year. And then this year I also did reading your guys' best and worst books. And those videos are just so much fun to me. I would love to do more like list style videos like that. So of course I have these like ideas rattling around in my head, but I don't have any particular set in stone reading plans, I guess. I have the ideas of plans. I will definitely have another video coming in December where I talk specifically about like how my yearly goals went and my specific reading goals for next year. So be on the lookout for that video for sure. But I think for now that will answer the questions for this tag at least. So I will see you guys so soon. In the meantime, let me know down below what book you're most excited to get to by the end of the year. But if you don't know what else to say, then leave me the cloud emoji in the comments. And while you're down there, please do subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.